Welcome to the EarthWorks Podcast, where our team will share the jargon of carbon with many of the turf friends we've met over the past 35 years.
Hello all, we're kicking down the cobblestone looking for fun and feeling groovy in Central Park on Halloween with our guest, Mr. Zach Holm, the turf care manager. Zach.
Thanks for coming by, Jack.
Dude, thanks for being on the podcast.
It's been a long time coming.
We've wanted to do this for a while.
It's multiple years.
Yeah, it's been long, but we're getting it done now. So
it's here.
Yeah, time to talk. And you're hosting me in one of my favorite spots in the park here that I'm always asking about. Tell us where we're sitting. And by the way, if you're listening, this would be a good chance to get on YouTube and check out the video because, of course, we simulcast.
So we are sitting in the middle of, I call them the bowling greens. One is technically the croquet green. The other one is the actual bowling green.
Right.
We're sitting right between the two of them. So behind us is the bowling greens where most people don't realize we have lawn bowling in the park.
Yeah, you have like greens height or at least tee height.
Yeah, they're a quarter.
Okay, they're mowed at a quarter inch.
Mowed in a quarter. We have bent grass. They're bent POA. A little bit of Bermuda in there too.
Yes.
And yeah, in the middle of fall season, so all the foliage is falling around us, and I don't think you can see behind, but there's a bunch of activity behind us too because the marathon is also it's the
marathon weekend.
Marathon weekend, and the finish line is literally right there.
Cool. Yeah. So let's give the listener, let's kind of set the scene for everybody where we're in Central Park, but let's kind of tell the story of how you got here, who you are. So how long have you been here, Zach?
4.5 years.
Dude, longer than
flown by.
Yeah.
It's flown by.
Longer. And when did we meet, you and I?
Was it before COVID?
Definitely.
So it had to be like 2018, 2019 then?
When you were the SFMA president on the board, the NJ chapter, something like that.
President of the New Jersey chapter. I don't know, my first recollection of meeting you was at the training facility at Red Bull.
Yeah, but I thought you hosted a field day.
Oh, we did host a field day there.
That might have been the first time I met you, but yes. Yeah, but that's basically how we met, is that you were at Red Bull Arena for what, 5-6 years?
I worked for Red Bull for 6+ years.
Uh-huh.
I started out splitting time between the practice facility and the arena, and by the end was, I'd still go to the arena from time to time, but was really stationed out of the practice facility. And I had, some facility responsibilities there too. Scheduled it, oversaw the cleaners, the security guards, stuff like that.
Yeah. But you really come through this turf industry. Most of your professional work has been in the sports turf realm.
Pretty much all pro sports, yeah.
Yeah.
Before soccer, it was baseball.
Okay. And you said you were a player growing up.
I actually never lettered in high school, but I did play in college. I went to a small D3 school. So I have 2 years of eligibility left. Okay. If anybody listening out there has a small school. I don't think I can throw a ball anymore. I blew out my elbow, and I had the Tommy John surgery, but never rehabbed it. So,
well, you sound like a very eligible, yeah.
But there's still 2 years there left.
JUCO, baby, get back. So, all right, cool. So, yeah, you're really a lot of your time's been in sports surf, yet you are an avid golfer, and I know you are also a proud GCSA member, too.
I am. Class A, which, I tell people this story. Maybe I shouldn't say it on the podcast, but we're going to go for it anyways. I do a fair amount of side work. I've always done a little bit of side work going back a number of years, and one of those places was at a small 9-hole course by my house.
Okay.
There is no superintendent.
Who does the applications?
Me.
There you go.
With a sprayer. Well, now we actually upgraded to an old multi-pro 1250, but for a long time it was a 25-gallon sprayer on the back of a golf cart. One of the greater turf accomplishments is that there's actually grass on the greens. But I called up GCSA one day and was like, hey, would you consider this a superintendent position? So I was fishing for a Class A so I could go to the Masters.
There you go.
And they were like, sure, why not? I'm sure they just want my money, and they get my money. And my dad, who's a Class A superintendent, we go to the Masters every year together. We've done it now like 4 straight years.
Yeah.
So it's money well spent. It's something we get to do.
It is one of the coolest perks I've ever heard of in anybody's job perks. Like the Class A free ride to the Masters perk is a really cool thing.
And this year I used it for the U.S. Open was at Oakmont.
Oh,
Father's Day weekend, right? Is my wife had something to do, so I had the kids. I submitted to USGA for a ticket because I came with my Class A card, and me and the kids took a road trip out to Oakmont. We stayed a night in a hotel, which the kids are 6 and 9. They love that. And they're free to get into the U.S. Open. And this year I went to the U.S. Open, the Masters, and the Ryder Cup. It was a
this is what I love about
banner
you.
golf year.
This is what I love about you. You take risks, you swing big, and you make things happen. So
Yeah.
I like that. That's
Gotta
what
take
makes it
advantage
fun.
while you can, right?
It's what makes it fun. And you do a lot of awesome stuff here.
Yeah.
And like you've made some big changes. You bring a lot of your professional sports turf experience here because we're sitting here on the bowling greens and croquet,
Yeah.
but you have plenty of other athletic fields here too, right?
We do. There's 26, I call them baseball fields, but really they're a mix of baseball and softball.
Multi-sport.
Well,
Don't they play soccer out there?
they're skinned infields. So we have 26 skinned infields, let's call it
Okay.
that. And then up north, we take 12 of them, and they become 5 soccer fields this time of year.
Got it.
I would love someday to see kind of year-round kind of soccer fields because it pains me coming from professional soccer to see a soccer field going through a baseball field. But
Yeah.
even the maintenance of those, right? Like we have a robotic painter now, so we know our fields are square, we know our lines are straight. It saves us time to be able to do other things.
How long have you had the robotic painter?
Well, the soccer fields have only been mine. This is my first season.
Okay.
I've been responsible for those soccer fields. The robotic painter's in its second year, though.
Okay, I didn't realize that. So you've only who had responsibility before that? How does this work?
So the park's divided into 3 sections. The bowling greens are in section 1, right?
Mhm.
So actually it's someone from section 1 who mows these. It's not someone from my team that does. And then those ball fields were in section 3. So the section staff in that section used to take care of them. Now they're under my purview.
Okay. Well, so let's for the listener, I'll kind of set the scene a little bit here as what the park looks like, where we're at, how I love coming here to call on you because I drive in from Jersey through the Lincoln Tunnel, come up through the city, and you come up Central Park West, and where there's a cross street that looks like you're not supposed to drive down it, and you're not. 85th and Central Park West, I show up, boom. Get in,
Yeah.
Put your flashers on, and come to the Central Park shop.
Yep, there's a sign that says "Do not enter," but there's enough space for a car to enter, and you just drive around. It's a one-way, and our shop's that's at 85th. Our shop's at 79th, so 6 blocks down the road, and
It's surreal every time you come. It's very cool. So, but now, like you're describing the park, and you say up north and
Yeah.
down here. So let us know, how big is this place, and what does it cover, and how do you kind of describe the geography?
so the park is 843 acres.
Damn.
The southernmost part of it's at 59th Street.
Okay.
The northernmost part's 110th Street.
Yo. Yeah.
I should probably know how many miles that is, but I don't.
Yeah.
I want to say it's a half mile wide. So
and I bet it's about 2 or 3 miles
probably.
long.
From the width wise, the east side's 5th Avenue, coming up Central Park West, that's 8th Avenue. There's parts of the park where you don't feel like you're in the city. That's what I think one of the coolest parts about it is there's parts where you're not in the city, and there's parts where we're sitting now that through these trees, there's, the tallest residential building in the United States.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's just a completely different place depending on where you are.
What is this park what is this part of the park that you say you don't feel like you're in the city?
Just certain pockets of it you can't see.
I'm thinking of the Rambles.
Yeah, when you're in the middle of the Ramble or the North Woods that are like heavily wooded, you can't see anything. But there's pockets, even if we went up to East Meadow, right, which is towards the edge of the park.
Okay.
If you look back towards the middle, the park's got so many gentle slopes and really a few hills that depending on what vantage point you have, you don't see a building.
Yeah.
We look that way,
Yes.
there's no building there.
Yeah, that's right.
It's trees. It's Holm said would have described them as meadows. I'd call them lawns, right? That you wouldn't know you're in the middle of the most populous city in the United States.
It's wild. So yeah, you just referred to Frederick Olmsted, right?
Yeah.
He's the architect of the park.
Him and Calvin Vox.
Have you done a deep dive on these guys, or
Not
or on
really.
the history of this?
Not a huge deep dive into the landscape architecture of it. Well, like I appreciate golf course architecture. I probably don't feel the same about landscape architecture, but I have done some dives, putting talks together, right? It took 20,000 people to build the park back in the 1800s. The Conservancy itself does some deep dives into the pre-history of Central Park with Seneca Village and stuff like that.
What is Seneca Village?
There were people who there's an African American population who used to live in the park, and I'm going to say all this stuff and I don't fully know it.
Okay.
But
well, this
basically it's taken by eminent domain to build the park.
Oh, really?
I believe.
Oh, okay.
Really don't quote me on that, and if I'm wrong, and
understood. No. This is the opportunity for people that are interested to take a look.
You can 100% take a deep dive. And on that note, like I mentioned, Conservancy. Like when I tell people where I work, a lot of people think I work for the city. The Central Park Conservancy is a nonprofit that has a contract to run the park with the New York City Parks Department, and they've been running the park since 1980.
Interesting. And before that, it was a city
park,
but
which if you go into a deep dive on our website, it wasn't maintained to the level it should be. To the crown jewel of parks that it is. It was overused, under-maintained.
Big time.
And so since 1980, the Conservancy's been kind of chipping away at different projects, right? To rehabilitate spaces, to maintain the level of the park that it deserves to be. We tell people that 42 million people visit here a year. That's our official on the record. I think that's old. That number's almost 10 years old. I think next year they're doing another study to figure out how many people come in. It's just such a busy place. There's literally something here for everybody.
It's nonstop.
Yeah.
Nonstop. Now, as the turf care manager, we talked a little bit about athletic fields. Like, how else would you describe some of your projects? What do you have on the top of mind all the time?
Well, so another challenge we have in maintaining turf here, aside from all those visitors, is actually the week I accepted the job, the city passed a pesticide ban. So we have a lot of traffic. We have some tools in the toolbox that we can't use, which isn't the end of the world. There are definitely times where man, I really wish we could go out with whatever it may be. So what's on top of the mind all the time, whether it's athletic fields, whether it's just passive recreation lawns, is trying to grow good grass, right? Trying to, the park's also really old, right? So trying to promote a healthy soil, to promote a healthy grass, because that's really our only option at that point, and a lot of seeding.
Yeah. So just to let everyone know of where you're restricted by the fact that you can't use any pesticides at all.
Pretty much. There's a couple little exemptions that can fall in there. Like we can use Civitas.
Okay.
We can use Rhapsody from a fungicide standpoint. Those are really the only two. And then we can use Fiesta from a herbicide standpoint, which is just chelated iron.
Yeah, for that kind of just blacks out.
Yeah, we've used it. We've kind of gotten away from using it. It's a lot of product, right? You apply it 25 fluid ounces per 1,000 square feet.
Yeah.
And it blackens up broadleafs, but they tend to come back.
Yes. So what you do is you're trying to just outgrow and outcompete with your desired turf types, which are what? And I know it's different all over the place.
It's mostly cool season. Like if you had to paint a broad brush, it's cool season, and we could talk about in a minute what varieties that is. We also mess around a little bit with Bermuda. For that reason, right, is we're trying to outcompete mostly summer annuals. I don't think we're ever going to outcompete POA, right? So the winter annuals they are what they are.
No, we like POA here.
There's a lot of POA here. If Penn State wanted to breed POA for 3-inch cut turf, this is the spot to do it.
POA.
Yeah. But we've messed around a little bit with Bermuda. Like if we pan to our right where that medical tent is for the marathon,
okay,
was the first spot we tried it. We sprigged it, and it looked fantastic the first year.
Yes, you did it right. You did it in June, and
yeah, and it looked really good.
Yes.
But I didn't overseed it because I wanted to see. We knew it would survive, right? We had tested it in plots, in some sodded plots. The Bowling Greens have a little bit in the corner. some common, a little bit to Holm, and that was sprayed with iron cutter. So we knew it would survive the winter, but what does it look like kind of through those winter months? Would it work as a desirable species for us in the park? Hindsight 2020, we should have overseeded it, because the dormant Bermuda, the issue isn't the color, the issue is that it's so open.
Yes.
And so Koa came in, clover came in, prostrate knotweed came in, and if that tent wasn't there, it also literally has a giant tent on it right now.
And that happens every year. Probably a good 2 weeks.
Yeah, and because that's the main medical tent for the marathon. The finish line's right there, and if people need medical attention, that's where they're going. So it looks like your average kind of weedy lawn, right? So I was like, all right, if this is going to work, I thought if this is going to work on a larger scale for us, which I want it to, I think it's a good tool for us for crabgrass and goosegrass. We need to be growing 2 grasses, and we could overseed it with rye. That's certainly common. We tried blue muta, so we had a sod farm grow blue muta for us. We sodded it this summer, and again, it's looked really good to this point. We'll see how it looks kind of through the winter and getting into next year.
It's a cool approach that you were able to have the grower grow the hybrid stand themselves, and then you could sod the whole piece in.
Yeah, it's about 30,000 square feet. Again, it's trying to prove the concept that it can visually be what people want to see in the park, but also allow us to manage lawns in a way that we could be competitive against those annual weeds. And then again, on that cool season note, when I started in the park, we had 4 different blends. We had a bluegrass blend, a tall fescue blend, a ryegrass blend, and then I guess a shade mix. So it was a little bit confusing of like, hey, we want to go out and see the spot. What seed do you want us to use? And again, if you could tell on camera, like there's a lot of shade here, but in the middle of the shade, there's also a lot of sun. Like,
So like if you say go out to Sheep Meadow, and use this wide open sunny mix, but the perimeters are all shaded.
They're all shaded.
Right.
And so it gets kind of confusing, and again, not having the pesticide option, constant seeding is now one of our biggest tools in the toolbox. So that first year when we had those 4 different blends was the most seed that the park ever put out. It was 26,000 pounds that year. So we quickly changed to kind of 2 mixes, right? A sport surf mix, 70% tall, 20% rye, 10% blue.
Okay.
And a shade mix, which was 70% fescue, and that was split between tall fescue and fine fescue and some rye.
Got it.
This year we've actually gone away with 2 mixes. We literally just have 1. It's a Central Park mix. It's a mix of fine, tall, blue, rye, and we shotgun it because again, we don't have all the tools in the toolbox.
Yes.
So if the rye or the fescue are going to pick up a leaf spot issue, well, then the bluegrass can kind of take over. If the bluegrass and the POA is picking up a summer patch issue, we have the fescues or the ryegrass to maybe try to fill in those spots. And it's helped.
And your guys don't have to say, which one is it?
There's no guesswork. So it allows us to be more efficient. And this isn't the sole reason why, when I tell you this number, you're going to fall off the bench. But it means that we can throw 2 pallets in the back of a pickup truck and send a guy out in an aerator and a guy out in the Vicon behind him and a guy driving the pickup truck. And so as of yesterday, we're at 168,000 pounds this year.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And we'll keep seeding all the way through November and December. Like we'll just keep throwing seed.
You build a seed bed.
Build a seed bank, and we get warm up. I mean, the long-term forecast says it's going to get cold in December, but January is going to be warm for us.
Okay.
We can grow grass year-round here if we get the right temperature.
Mm-hmm.
And we actually get really successful sometimes in like February, March, April. Maybe not so much April, before all the trees have leafed out. If we get soil temps that, a few nice days in a row and things start warming up, we're in the middle of the concrete jungle. So
it's a heat sink.
Yeah, we can grow some grass when maybe other people can't grow as much grass.
Now, how does that do for you on the reverse side? And you already mentioned some fungus issues. Like, how is it for these summer times where I bet you have overnights where it doesn't get below 75s, maybe higher?
Yeah, we get some warm nights, and then depending on the location, it's very spotty. A lot of microclimate, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is where there's a ton of trees, we maybe don't get the best air movement.
Mm-hmm.
And things get done with a broad stroke. I would love to say we can micromanage those microclimates better, but in the grand scheme of things, there's 8 of us for all the work that we're doing.
Insane.
That it's great that we've kind of become this machine in those small instances is where it's like, man, I wish we were a little bit more like that pro sports end where, on a soccer field, you just have those 2 acres.
Send them out.
That you were looking at. You see all 2 acres every single day.
Right.
We have 300 acres of grass and 843 acres, and they don't get seen every day.
Well, this is something that I think a lot of people would benefit from. How do you keep it organized and prioritized, and how do 8 people, even think about 340 acres? How do you categorize this whole park?
So we divide parks up, like the lawns within the park, by priority, right? Like there's A, B, C, D lawns.
A, B, C, D lawns.
So
4 different priorities.
Kind of categories. And,
Okay.
and that's something that's changed since I've been here, of trying to define what those are. There maybe wasn't the best definition of what those are. So for me personally, if we're going to call it a lawn, even if it's a D lawn,
Yes.
we're going to seed it once.
Yes.
And we're going to fertilize it once. May just be one fertilizer application, but we're going to make an attempt to grow grass. And
That's the minimum.
that's the minimum. And just because it's a D lawn doesn't mean we necessarily don't care about it. It's we have to prioritize our time and our resources, and that's one way to do it, versus something that, like, we're sitting in the middle of the bowling greens, which are an A lawn.
Got it.
These get a foliar application every 2 weeks. They have in-ground irrigation. They have dedicated opening and closing times. There's a lot of other factors that go into that. And there is a part that goes into it of where it is, right? Like, is it a spot where someone walks into the park and it's a first impression?
Mm-hmm.
Or is it a lawn that's in the middle of the rainbow that maybe you have to stumble upon, you have to get lost and stumble upon,
Mm-hmm.
that maybe doesn't have the same level of expectation that another spot would?
You mentioned irrigation. Is everything irrigated? Are D lawns irrigated? Are there non-irrigated lawns? How does irrigation work here?
There's not really a great definition of how irrigation works. There are some D lawns that have irrigation, and there are some B lawns that don't.
Okay.
We have 16 different satellites that report to a central computer.
Okay.
We have 9 different pump stations. Irrigation does span. There's irrigation in a lawn at 59th Street, and there's irrigation in a lawn at 110th Street. Different systems, but all under our purview. And then there's, between there's systems that maybe just have quick couplers, right? Where someone has to come out and pull a hose to be able to water that lawn. And there's some spaces that literally have no irrigation at all.
Right. Okay. Got it. I kind of knew that, like, you had this kind of hybrid situation where there's in-ground in a lot of places, but you also, rely on quick couplers, setting up quick couplers.
Yeah, and that's one of the, a challenge one of the many challenges here is the staff that pulls that hose to water with those quick couplers actually isn't on our team.
They're not part of the.
They're not part of the turf care team. On the turf care team, we're responsible for that in-ground irrigation. I'm the one controlling the central computer. If there's a break, it's our team that's going out and fixing it. This time of year, it's our team that's going out and winterizing it. And some of those lawns that just have quick couplers are off of those systems, right? They're off of a pressurized pump. Some of them aren't, though. Some of them are just city lines that the city plumber comes and takes care of. I don't think you saw him, but when we first sat down, the city plumber was in the corner of that lawn over there.
Okay.
Because there is a hose there.
Oh, interesting.
But that's not off of the pump station that does
the in-ground
irrigation. So he was standing there actually winterizing that.
Oh my!
It's literally just a hose spigot.
Oh my gosh!
This
is a massive place.
Sometimes it's a frustration that you want to bang your head against the wall, but other times, when the pieces come together, you're able to make something work with infrastructure that's. This system's 30 years old.
Right.
Its pump station's on its last leg.
I bet it's a lot newer than that city line.
Yeah, probably. When it comes together and you're successful, it's one of those, looking back and like, that's why you wake up in the morning and do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the deal. Okay, so I kind of interrupted with the irrigation question about in the middle of talking about like your A, B, C, D lawn. So you're kind of, your minimum care is it's going to get some seed and it's going to get at least one FERT application.
Just one FERT app. And then how we stay organized to be able to do all that work is, since there wasn't really a formal definition of what all those were, is, I kind of looked at those different categories and assigned, let's call them minimum levels of care, right? Just because it's a C lawn and we fertilize it twice doesn't mean that we can't do it 3 times. But let's put in all of our minimum levels of care across the park, right? Let's look at a map and say, we're going to make this, whatever it may be. And then sit and make a calendar of it. That's probably my favorite part of the wintertime, is being able to put all that on paper. And again, another challenge is it's a city park. The city permits the park. So if I want to, we're talking about seed and fertilizer, but there's another aspect of that would be aeration, right?
Yes.
If I want to deep tine the ball fields down south, I have to pull a permit to do that because we need them closed for the day so that we can run the vertidrain. Well, I have to determine for 2026, I had to submit all the dates to the city by September 1st of 2025.
Oh my gosh.
So, and 2026, the calendar year spans 2 different fiscal years. Like, there's a lot of like pieces that go to the puzzle that, again, when they all come together, it's really great to see. And then there's times where we've made this plan that, next May we're gonna vertidrain those ball fields, and then it rains that day, and it's like, well, crap. What do we do from here? Because this is the day that we have, and that's kind of it, and we gotta adjust our plans accordingly.
Are you able to, do you make things happen, or?
Yeah, it depends on the lawn. Like that example of the ball fields down south, that's only 3.5 acres.
Okay.
We could actually get through that by the time that lawn's supposed to open at 11 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
So if we need to squeeze that in on a better weather day, we could. There's parts of the park though where we can't, and it's maybe we only do the highest use areas of that, or it's something that gets skipped. It's just nature of the beast.
Yeah, that's just it. You've mentioned a couple times now this kind of opening and closing of spaces,
Yep.
and I know that's a major part of what happens here. What's the rhyme and reason there?
So the ball fields open at 11 a.m.
Across the whole park.
across the whole park, and that's Monday through Friday. On the weekends they open at 8.
Got it.
There's a couple other lawns like Sheep Meadow opens at 11.
Okay.
And then we have what we refer to as 9 a.m. lawns, that are fenced in, and they open at 9 a.m. So there's the history of that. I don't fully know. What we utilize it for is, again, there's 300 acres of grass that we need to mow.
Doing work. Yeah.
Is some of them don't have fences. We got to make sure we get to those early in the morning before the park's crowded, or we know the lawn doesn't open until 11 a.m. We have till 11 a.m. to mow.
Okay.
And that's just like kind of on a daily basis. Kind of seasonally, historically, those lawns that were fenced in or that were permitted, right, open the first weekend in April, and they used to close the Monday after Thanksgiving. That's the season. That's our lawn season. There are lawns there's a lot of lawn. More than half the lawns in the park don't have a fence. So they're just open year round. But I sat back after a year or two, and we're looking at April and November are tough months to grow grass for us, in that the weather's starting to get nice. So on your nice days, you have a real influx of people wanting to. This is the backyard for how many people live in the city? Like 9 million.
Right.
This is their backyard where they go exercise, take their dog, play catch with their kid.
And everyone's excited to get out in March, no doubt.
Is that, we're growing grass in April, but it's young, it's tender. Is that, if we have a lot of damage, then that's really going to set us back for the year. And it's kind of same thing in November. So I took a step back, again, taking out the ball fields, but the vast majority of other fenced-in lawns, and said, say we have 100 acres, which is partially making up that number. Why do we have to open all 100 in April, and why do we have to keep all 100 open until November? So we've actually split between the two. So say these 2 greens behind us were 2 different lawns. Is this one may open in April, but it'd be closing. Today would be its last day. Right.
So
that we can recover in November. It's going to be really slow growth, but we'll be able to build a stand back to be dense, to try to grout out weeds. On the flip side, this one stays open until the Monday after Thanksgiving. It's going to be kind of worn, but we have April to try to thicken it back up, try to outcompete weeds.
So you have 1 month of this kind of cool growing weather that you can strengthen up those plants.
Yeah, that we're trying to, right? Because it's all about trying to grow the healthiest possible grass to try to provide the best conditions.
Because there's no pre-emerge out here. There's no post-emerge.
No pre-emerge, no post-emerge.
Right.
Nope.
This is what you got. So you got to keep growing. No doubt. Okay, makes sense. So let's move on up. What's the difference between, let's say, an A and a B lawn?
Again, it really comes down to resources. I mean, all those A-lawns have irrigation. That's not in my kind of personal definition. The A-lawns we do spray. We just don't spray any pesticides. We go out with
feed.
It's only every 21 to 28 days, so it's not probably a true spoon feed.
Okay.
But it helps bridge between granular applications. We're basically going out with soil sprays at this point. That's been a change. It's a foliar application that we're immediately watering in. Things that are going to help us build a healthy soil. Bacillus products, rhizobacteria products, things of that nature.
Yes.
And wetting agents, right? Because that irrigation system's 15, 20, 25, 30 years old. And we talked about all irrigation. Should also put the caveat in there is no irrigation tech. So irrigation truly is irritation. It's absolutely needed, but there's times in the summer where it's just nonstop. So we do go out every 21, 28 days on those A-lawns, and we're putting out a wetting agent just to try to, for two parts. One, to give us a little bit of buffer if we do have irrigation issues, but two, it's the right thing from an environmental standpoint.
You use less water.
We're not paying for the water, it's city water, but we want to use the least amount of it as we can.
Absolutely.
So that's what we're going. That would certainly be a difference between A and B lawns.
And also, like you say, like at some point that line's going to be down. There's going to be something wrong with those couple heads, and we need to make it through the break.
Which has happened this year. I think we've talked about it.
Oh yeah.
We could tell that story in a little while, but yeah, it happens.
Yes.
Whether it's a whole system, which this year was probably the first time it was an entire system, or if it's just a zone or a head. We need those. And now, again, sometimes that backfires when you're spraying a wetting agent and you need to water it in, and then you find out that something's not working. So you sprayed something that's hot that needs a little bit of water in.
We could tell that story here too.
That's happened. That's actually happened twice on the Bowling Greens.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, dude.
I've told our rep who we buy that product from that I'm not buying it next year.
Okay.
That happened this year. And you can see behind us, like this green.
Well, what happened? Tell us.
So we'll go spray. I'm not going to name the wetting agent, right? But a lot of wetting agents need to be watered.
Of course.
Wetting agent went out, probably not at the right rate.
Okay.
And didn't get the right amount of water to be watered in. And again, we've picked those days that we're going to make that foliar application. However,
what day is this? What time of year?
July.
Yeah, of course.
However far in advance, right? And we got a good amount of tip burn.
Yes.
Like,
toasty.
I was on vacation. I came back, this was done on a Thursday, I think. I came in on Monday. I was out that whole week, which, side note, being able to take vacation in July is something that doesn't happen in professional sports, but that's a story for another day.
We can end this with some kind of employment talk because you have a really unique job.
Came in on Monday and I was like, man, what happened here? I can take some guesses, but again, if you're watching on camera behind us, we're back to a full stand.
Oh yeah.
So it just that goes to speak to when we pick genetics for what seed we're putting out and the products we're choosing to put out. It's by design to be able to. It's hard enough as it is, but to try to give us the best chance to be successful.
Yeah, you're working with a buffer here. Like you have to. Yeah, you have to. So because you have 340 acres with 8 people.
Yeah.
Crazy. So okay, so you mentioned those 21-day kind of soil sprays, and then but you said they kind of bridge the gap between the bulk of what you do is a 5-6 round fertility program.
Yeah. So at one point when I started, we were going out with roughly a half pound monthly during the growing season.
Quite a bit.
It shakes out to about 5 pounds on the highest level of lawns, about 5 pounds, which is a good amount for a public space.
Sure.
I wouldn't call it excessive, but it's not a little
not
bit.
For what you're trying to get done. It's not excessive, but it's aggressive.
So one of the things I tried to change the first year, again, trying to bring fertilization to more acreage, was what if we bumped up to, I'm going to say a pound, it's really 0.9 to stay within the fertilizer law, but a pound.
Right.
4 to 5 times a year.
Okay.
Does that get us the same? Does that work for us so that we can spend more time getting to other lawns? I mean, it didn't, right? We have too many peaks and valleys in that point of trying to only do that. If we were to the date exactly every time, maybe we were okay. But, irrigation comes up, events come up, whatever it may be, that now those 6 weeks or 8 weeks that it was supposed to be turned into 9, 10, 11 weeks, and you can start to see turf quality decline. So we've since gone back now to doing a half pound.
I think for, for the listener here, like, you go back to thinking about managing turf that wasn't under regulation.
Yeah.
Like it's different. The plant needs more. It's hungrier when it's not being regulated.
And I think next year, for, just us talking, I think next year we'll actually get a lower pound of N per thousand.
But it's the consistency.
And then the other thing we do, probably against textbook, is we come out to the out-competing part. We come out in the springtime and go heavy soluble. I mean, we are either straight urea or straight ammonium sulfate to start the year, because we're trying to absolutely push growth early.
I like this.
To build a dense standard turf. And then another regulation you have in that is, in New York State, you can't put out fertilizer until April 1st.
Yeah.
Which, again, we're green and arguably maybe mowing a little bit of grass by April 1st. I live in Jersey, 2 USDA hardiness zones away, and I can fertilize my front yard March 15th.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And
we're 2 zones colder.
2 zones colder, and we're 2 weeks later to be able to put out fert, right? So we really need to get going in the springtime. Come April 1st, it is those alons of that first week with urea or ammonium sulfate. Another thing we changed in that is that fertilizer law is specific to NP and K products.
Yes.
It's not specific to a biostimulant, or we haven't done this yet, but a compost, something we've talked about, right?
Got it.
Is compost is exempt from that? Could we get some nutrition out of compost? Or what we have been doing the past 2 years is going out and making a foliar application of a biostimulant. Is that nitrogen? No, but it's trying to stimulate the soil to be able to give the plant something.
Yeah, get some action.
But it's something that falls within the parameters of the law that we can do. So we're trying it.
Again, everything you do is trying to work around the limitations that that you have to play in.
Yeah.
And that's but you get it done, like because you that is your line of attack, is to be super dense in the springtime. You have to be.
Yeah, that is going to be the key to our success. We could go around and see something that's maybe not dense in the springtime and know that we're going to have weeds encroach in that. Which honestly, sometimes, depending on the lawn, isn't always the worst thing in the world, because weeds are green.
Okay, got it.
It highly depends. If it was the Bowling Greens, I'd hear about it, right? Because it's a volatile sport. But yeah, and it's something that that plan has changed through the years. Those products have changed through the years. At one point we're using a custom fertilizer that's half lime, because our soil's been, I don't want to say neglected, because that sounds really bad, but it's been depleted for it's an old park with old soils that historically a lot of ammonium sulfate products were used on.
Okay.
And so we're getting
low pHs.
We're getting soil tests back with pH of literally like 5.01.
Right.
And so again, coming to feasibility, we kind of came up with a custom product that was blended for us that contained a different organic source, contained some synthetic nitrogen, and contained lime. It's going to be a slow process to kind of raise that up. And I'd say for a year or two, that was really successful. That's probably something we're going to start to move away from. Right. And so
you got to keep evolving. You remineralize. You keep evolving. Yeah.
And I think prior to the time that I was here, there was a plan that worked really well 5, 10, 15 years ago, but it was the same plan the entire time. Right. And that plan's got to constantly, you don't need to reinvent the wheel, but it needs to be tweaked, because as we're improving things, we either need less material or we need different material. Right? It might be we don't need to build whatever it is we're trying for in this spot. We just need to maintain our healthy soil and maintain our dense standard turf.
Yes. Yeah, that's the whole game.
Yeah.
We're down here near one of my other favorite parts of the park, and you already kind of brought it up. What do you call these softball fields down here, down in the southern end here?
Heckscher ball fields.
Heckscher ball fields. Love them, dude. That's where that if you've all seen the Seinfeld episode with Bette Midler, where you know what you know. Oh,
don't.
Dude, come on. Yeah, the Seinfeld episode with Bette Midler. She's playing on the in the Broadway League. And where each Broadway show has got a softball team and
they still play down there.
And that's like, and when I come here, it's like, oh yeah, that's like, that really happens.
I think it was last year. Somebody sent me a video of George Clooney playing down.
That was me. I sent you the video.
Sorry.
Yeah.
But that's a spot, those ball fields aren't under our purview, but that's a project we did last winter along with some of the fields up north that are under my purview. We converted them to dirt edge.
Oh yeah.
So, historically, prior to that project, those 26 baseball fields were low bid infield mix that have all your problems with low bid infield mix. Coming from baseball, having worked at stadiums that had dirt edge, is how can we try to bring a higher level of it's Central Park, right? Like,
yes,
it's not going to be Yankee Stadium, but Central Park should be known for having the best fields in the city. Right, so we actually redid a little bit of irrigation so we could manage moisture, and converted them to dirt edge. And now our fields up north, some of them have mounds that actually are baseball fields. This winter we're actually building the mounds out of clay bricks. Like, we're gonna have next year those
really
fields
nice.
will have actual mounds.
Really nice.
Just trying to raise the level, trying to maintain lips better.
So first of all, you were kind of plugging a great EarthWorks podcast from a couple weeks ago with Grant from Dirt Edge, which was a very good podcast. Kevin Hicks did that. So, you kind of brought up something, and I hear you say this a lot. Like, this is Central Park.
Yeah.
It's the jewel.
Yeah.
It's like let's impress people. That's what we do. So. And also, you've also brought up, like, this is for a lot of people. We are doing a service for millions of people. So, and I think you take that to heart.
I very much take that to heart. And it's something I thought of even when I interviewed for the job. It's something I took to heart at Red Bull. When I worked at Red Bull, especially at the training facility, right, there's 3 pro teams that operate out of that training facility. But there's also
the kids, man.
At least 6 academy teams that are there full time. Then there's pre-academies and camps, and there's a lot of kids that come through there, right?
Yeah.
And so it was.
It's one of the best things that we do in turf. I mean, it's like it's one of the coolest things that we can hang our hat on, is that we make, like, world-class facilities for youth.
Yeah, it was early 2021. I coined this. We had a televised game at the training facility. I don't remember if it was the 15-year-old, 16. It was kids. Painted an Adidas logo in the middle of it. And the kids thought it was the coolest thing ever. It wasn't on ESPN. It was like live streamed on a sports website. But like, they thought it was the greatest thing ever. Field looked great. From a facility end, I was involved making sure the lift was there and cable was ran, all this stuff, right? And I sat there watching it, and I'm like, man, the field really is just like, this facility became the canvas for those kids. Like, those kids will remember that moment forever. And so I actually used it in my job interview here.
That's why we're sitting here today.
Yeah, as a field manager, we are just creating the canvas for people to make memories. Because I started taking it more to heart from a sports end of, like, okay, well, now I remember when I went with my dad to a ball game, right? I don't remember the field, but if the field wasn't in the condition that it was, would the players that I was going to see be as successful? Maybe, maybe not. But here, it's completely different, right? A question that I still haven't gotten answered is, like, how many people get engaged in the park every year? And I know there's a lot, because I see people taking pictures all the time. And if the lawn behind them doesn't look good, does that impact that engagement? No. Someone's going to say yes no matter what, or no. Hopefully it's yes. But if it does look good in the background, right, and that photo now is going to be hanging in that couple's house for the rest of their life, or being a photo book, or whatever it is, it's just a small detail that go into that greater memory that, I try to remind myself of on a daily basis of it. You're not just doing it for us to be successful and growing the grass, is people are using it. And then the other thing I try to remember is how many people visit this park who don't live in New York. We talked about it being a backyard for the 9 million people who live here. I think Central Park might be the number 1 rated, like, site on TripAdvisor. Don't quote me on that, but it's up there. Or at least it's in New York City, I think, number one, right? So many people come here to visit it. And in that day that they're here, that might be their only impression of the park. So can we be on top of our game as many days as we can so that that impression is always high, right?
Bro, can you pass me that tissue box, man?
Yeah.
I got it. Hold on. Oh, it's beautiful, dude. You're right.
But it's true, right? It's something that you try to convey to team members and to colleagues across the park is as a potential motivator, right? Is in sports. My experience in pro sports is everybody wanted to be there. Everybody was there because they wanted to be there, right? They were a fan of the team. They were an intern trying to move up to be a head groundskeeper at another professional team, right? There's this motivation. I'm sure golf is somewhat similar in that, at least the high-end club.
Mm-hmm.
Is that in the public space, not everybody's here because they want to manage another park in the city.
Mm-hmm.
They're here because this was the job they got when they were 16, and they've just been here since they were 16. So how do you try to open somebody's eyes to that of like, hey, what you're doing is actually really important. It's not just coming in and punching a clock and mowing grass.
There's nothing more demoralizing for a greenkeeper than doing all this hard work for people that don't even realize or expect it, you know,
Yeah.
like, and they don't think like, wow, that's really cool what you've gotten done here.
Yeah.
And it's really special. Yeah, it's demoralizing. So that, I think you're right. Like, though, that's a perk of these jobs is that you're making it for, you're setting it up for people that really appreciate the effort.
They do.
Yeah.
And it's also motivating, you know, the bowling greens as an example is we were talking off camera of like yesterday was our end of year meeting with the lawn bowlers and the croquet association is they'll talk about these greens haven't been this good in the past decade. I mean, I look at them and I see plenty of issues, right? We have a good camera angle, so they look good. But there's parts of them that are thin or there's no turf altogether, maybe under a tree, right? And so they're appreciative of that. But then there's also that, like, you can get them a little faster next year. And it's that kind of motivating of like, well, yeah, I want to.
So does that, so does all this work for your crew? And like you're saying, like for, it's different. Like you don't have that, might not have that upward mobility of, hey, I'm trying to get to a US Open golf course.
Yep.
Like, but you're bringing back these stories and they're hearing this firsthand. Does it help?
Yeah, that's part of it. It's part of making somebody want to wake, because we start early in the morning. Like, our hours are not easy. When that alarm clock goes off at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, that someone's like, I want to go to work today. Part of that is, you know, you're not doing it for the pat on the back, but knowing that people appreciate it is certainly part of it. Also, creating an environment where somebody gets to express what they want to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not me saying, well, these are the 10 things we have to do today. It's communicating what the expectation is. Of course, I could come up with the steps to get there,
Mm-hmm.
but letting people come up with, hey, what do you think of this idea? What if we did this instead of that? Hey, let's try it. We got 300 acres of grass.
Let's try.
Let's try it. If it works, great. Now somebody's like, that's a great feeling when you come up with an idea and it works, right? Now that person's engaged. Or if it doesn't work, that's okay.
Yes.
That a person's appreciative of the fact that they got an opportunity to try something different.
Dude.
And maybe it didn't work out in that instance, but you can take a step back and be like, well, if we would have actually done this slightly different, maybe it actually would have worked.
Now we're all learning together.
So an example of that is this year was the first year where we bought a spreader big enough to hold a super sack.
2,000 pounds, 500 pounds.
A 2,000-pound super sack.
Yeah.
It can hold 3,500 actually, and we can put it on a tractor that can hold that type of weight. Right?
Yeah.
First year we've done it. This is the first spring we did it. So we bought a super sack of urea, right? A super sack of urea, when you're trying to get a half-pound event out, can get you pretty far.
Yeah, get you 59th Street to 110.
So I sat there and looked at the map. Okay, we can get this many bee lawns done with this super sack, and kind of made a plan. And communicated that to the team of like, hey, instead of ripping all these bags this year, I heard you guys, it sucks, right? And they're like, this is great. So we went out and did the work, and again, that part goes from 59th to 110. And these 2 days we can get all the B lawns done in 2 days, but you're driving all over the park.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next week we're going to do C lawns, and they're driving past the same lawns they already did.
Frustrating.
And they're like, hey, we can do this better next year. What if we just planned it out in groupings of the park?
Geographically, yeah.
And I'm like, damn, you know what? You're right. Like, we made it easier on ourselves this year.
Sure.
But we've also built the culture and the environment where someone can be like, dude, you can actually make this better. And it's like, you know what? You're right. Like
that. Well, yes. Very good point, dude. You've built the environment in which people feel comfortable saying that.
Yeah.
Like, and now the team's working together.
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
I don't ever like to think that well, I don't need to think it. I'm wrong plenty of the time. Never right all the time. I want feedback. I want someone to say, no, I'd rather do it this way. And there might be an instance where it's like, no, we do it this way because of X, Y, and Z, but it's an opportunity to communicate that.
Now, do you pick up your chair and throw it across the room while you say that and like launch the radio no, you don't do that?
No, I did an internship for somebody who described me as like a laid back Southern. I am from San Diego, right? They described it as the San Diegan in me.
Yeah.
I would argue maybe I've now lived on the East Coast half my life, and my wife is from New Jersey, that maybe that's ticked me up a little bit, right? That I'm not completely as laid back, but I'm still pretty laid back.
Yeah.
There's not problems, there's only solutions. Like,
that's right.
But that's part of the fun of the job, right? If it was easy, it wouldn't be as fun.
No doubt. No, yeah. And you need to have an even keel working here.
Yeah, you have to be able to take the rolling punches of, you have to be organized and planned, but that can go completely out the window in a minute if something else happens.
You also, I think, better than most, because and also because you have to, you interface very well with non-turf people. Okay. Like, I mean, I've spent, and I think a lot of us have spent so much time just talking to other greenkeepers. Yeah. Like we kind of get in this bubble of like, oh, whereas you're working in a professional world, and I think a lot of guys also do this well, but maybe not me so much. I only talk to grass growers. Where you are working with, I mean, tell me, you have how many departments are here with the CPC? Like,
I can't even tell you how many departments.
Right.
There's like between they work in the park and then we have an office building that's outside of the park. I'd say between those two, we're almost at like 400 people.
That's insane.
And so, yeah, there's
a whole bunch of bureaucracy here.
A lot of bureaucracy, and sometimes when I say like sometimes weeds are our favorite because they're green, there's a good chunk of people who see green. Like one time I was driving somebody who works in the volunteer department to a different location in the park. He's like, "Wow, this one looks great," and I'm like, "It's like half crabgrass," but like to him, it's green grass.
Yeah,
great.
Yeah.
It's trying to understand their perspective, right?
Uh-huh.
I don't want to say it's angling because that sounds in a way malicious, but it's angling to understand at the end of the day, that person wants to be successful in their job. And if there's a role that I can play for them to be successful, but also me successful, now everybody can.
Now we're getting things done.
And it's understanding, I'd say I probably have a pretty good grasp of a business end. Right, so that
I think you picked up a lot of this, and you brought it up at the very big top of the interview at Red Bull, because like you did more than managing the turf at the training facility. You managed all those contractors and everything like that, right?
And made the schedule, and that was an angle. I picked that up. I gave a talk to the National SFMA conference in 2020, right before COVID. It's the most terrified I've probably ever been in my life, because it was titled about I think the title was remaining positive about increased field usage.
Okay.
When I was 23 and a minor league head groundskeeper, I was using the restroom one game day, and there was an ad above the urinal that said remote dig on this day. And I'm like, wait, we're going to go dig up the infield in the middle of a homestand? Nobody told me about this? So I went into the front office. I'm like, what is this? They're like, oh yeah, we're going to do, it's so great. And I was pissed.
Yeah.
And then it happened, and it was carnage.
Okay.
And I was even more pissed. And I didn't take it well. Like, hindsight 20, I was not happy. I took to social media and was like, this was dumb, all these things. We had a player on the team, Mark Tien, who had played in the majors.
Okay.
And he piled on. And he actually tagged the team in some of his tweets of like, this was a terrible idea. So I got a stern talking to the next day, right? And a couple weeks later, they scheduled next year's remote dig. So I had this moment of like me being pissed off and throwing a temper tantrum about it got me nowhere.
Uh-huh.
So I need to change what I'm going to do. Essentially, we say it in our world, the seat at the table. I don't have a seat at the table. I got to figure out how to get a seat at the table.
Yes.
By the end of my time in York, I had meetings with, like I was leaving. I was on the way out. Me and the event manager sat down and had lunch because he wanted to talk about some events that he was thinking about for next year, who would be the next groundskeeper. And I was like, so we built that relationship up from being mad and yelling to that because it was, okay, the salesperson, the events manager, whoever it may be, is trying to be successful in their job. How can we all be successful together? So again, took that to Red Bull I was proposing events.
Yeah.
We were talking about concerts at the stadium, and I was like, well, if the goal of the concert at the stadium was to make X amount of dollars, could we make that X amount of dollars in running a soccer tournament at the training facility? Neither happened when I was there. But those conversations kind of warranted a seat at the table of like, hey, maybe this person has some ideas that we can tweak them because the team's looking to make money, right?
And a lot of that, I think, has since started happening.
Now they have concerts.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
You have to have Dan on the podcast for that some other time.
Good point.
But yeah, but it's learning that perspective that, the other, let's say 100 people have an affiliation for lawns in the park, employees, right?
Right.
There's another 300 in the organization. I don't want to say they care because they care that the park looks nice, but they care about their job.
Mm-hmm.
And their first concern isn't what that's going to do to a lawn in the park. That's my role.
Right.
And my role is not to say no. My role is to lay out,
help
great,
them.
Let's do it. But I'm going to need these resources afterwards to maintain the expectations that we all expect. It's not my decision to make to say yes or no to an event. It's to advise and advocate for ourselves to be successful.
Wow. Yeah, that's huge, man. And that's a lot of what you do in between all of the greenkeeping stuff that you do out here.
There are so many things between procurement and my phone's rang 3 times since we've been sitting here. I haven't looked at my watch to see who's called, but it's that challenge. It's very little. I'd say I spend very little time actually growing grass. I appreciate the times being able to go get in a mower and mow. Mm-hmm. I get to see the most grass that day, right? Because I'm mowing with a wide area mower that I'm going to see 15, 20, 30 acres of mowing. Every once in a while, I'll be out in a tractor and a Vicon, but in my 4.5 years here, I've ran a vertidrain 1 time, right? Because I don't have the time to sit and spend 6 hours to vertidrain. On one hand, that's fun, and on the other hand, you miss those quiet times of nobody blowing up your phone.
Yes. But that's, you wear a different hat. Like, you got to do it all. Well, man, this was a very good discussion, and I'd like to continue it, have you on the podcast again, because we can get into more specifics next time as to some of the different projects that you work on. We didn't talk concerts at all, and I know concerts is a big thing.
We didn't talk events here. We didn't talk about side job stuff.
There you go, dude. So there's plenty to talk about.
I keep busy.
Yeah, you're a busy guy. Well, Zach Holm on the podcast, everybody. I'm very happy to have you, Zach. And I'll plug you as well. I know you just got back from the PGMS conference, which they host at the same time, same location as the GIE in Louisville. You were speaking there. Are you speaking anywhere else this winter?
Where am I speaking this winter? Green Expo. I feel like I have a little permanent spot at Green Expo.
That's AC. And,
that's an AC. I'm doing a joint talk with Dr. Rossi at the Met GCSA annual meeting. That's in 2 weeks.
Oh man.
Yeah. If I'm speaking somewhere else this winter, it's not top of mind at the moment. But it's usually 4 or 6 times a year.
And you'll also be at the SFMA conference.
Yeah.
Yeah, so people can meet you there too.
Definitely plug the SFMA conference. It's probably my favorite.
You sit on the board.
I'm on the board.
National board.
Oh, I will plug a vote.
Okay.
I'm not a shameless plug for a vote. I'm up for Secretary Treasurer this year.
All right.
Against Jason Demink, who's one of the greatest people in the industry. He's at the University of Michigan. So, absolute great dude. Yeah, up for that this year. And SFMA is what kind of motivates me it's the dead of winter, right?
Yes.
End of January. That you come out of that conference and you're like, okay, I'm ready to grow grass.
Yes, yeah.
Had enough time at home. You're starting to stripe the carpet. That you're like, let's
go.
get out.
Yeah. Well, cool, man. Thank you, Zach.
Anytime.
Thanks for having me here, and thanks for being on the EarthWorks podcast.
Anytime.
Thank you, everybody. Check it out. See ya.